One man's quest for gravel leads him on an epic journey of engineering and fabrication. Hello. Good morning. We're crushing rock today. All right, we're gonna be dealing with the problem front and center. I guess I'm front and center. The rock crusher is front and center now, and I'm gonna address some of the problems I had last time I ran it. And the problem was when I fed the feeder deck, well, I had Dawn on the other side pushing the rocks in, and it was working really well. Why can't we make it a little bit better? Got a little torpedo level on there, and what's happening right now is that the deck was level. So what I did was I was like, okay, on the fly, let's see if we can repair this. I took a couple of hockey pucks, I put them over here, gave me a little bit of a slope. Now, that helped gravity push the rocks into the hopper. Now, the reason why I don't put it like on a crazy angle is because I can't get up high enough with my load of rocks. So I want to keep it at a reasonable slope. So probably like a 2 hockey puck, that's a measurement, a 2 hockey puck kind of a slope, and then I've got some other stuff that I'm going to put on it, and possibly a shaker, which is this guy, which is a little 110 motor. I'm going to put like an offset thing. I'm going to make basically a giant vibrator. First, I've got to make shield, which is going to shield the motor from any rocks that decide that they want to escape and fly out the top. So I've got a special plan for that. And let's get this show on the road. That is the plan for the popcorn shield maker, and it's a old propane tank, a 30-pounder. And what I did was I actually cut the end off and removed the valve. And then what I do is I fill it with water, because that makes sure all of the propane is out of the tank before you cut it and weld it, because, well, propane is explosive, and we don't want that to happen. So that's going to drain. And too bad you guys don't have smell-o-vision, because that smell in there. It's permanently in there. It's the mercaptan. It kind of smells like rotten eggs. You want to know a fun fact? Scrapyards typically don't like taking propane tanks, or they just simply don't accept them at all. So if you ask nicely at a scrapyard for propane tanks, they'll be glad to give you them. Just make sure you're really careful when you're prepping them for use, because propane is volatile, and you have to be careful. Hey guys, just want to tell you about today's sponsor. It's the Jackery Explorer 3000 Pro. Now this is the pack you need in case of a power outage and you still need to power some things, like essential things, like your refrigerator or your CPAP machine, or if you want to make toast. This thing can pretty much power 99% of all of the devices in your home. This thing also has the industry-leading safety, so it's safe to use in your home. It's got smart app control, meaning you can actually take a look at your phone. You can see if it's charging, whether or not it needs to be plugged in, because there's a couple ways you can charge it. You can either charge it by solar, you can charge it with your car with a 12-volt adapter, or you can plug it into your standard AC outlet. This thing charges fast, up to 80% in like 100 minutes or less, and it's very quiet, meaning it very little noise, like 30 decibels I think is the max on the quiet charging mode. Ultra long standby. This thing, you can charge it up and you can throw it in your closet, and in the event you need it, it's going to have that charge still in it. It can also be used as a backup power supply. So like you've got sensitive electronics, you can plug this thing into the wall, plug your electronics into this thing, and in the event that the power goes out, this thing will actually instantly turn on under 20 milliseconds and keep you running. So your computers and whatever. It's got a 3+2 full warranty, because if you're spending the money, you know you want it to last. The other great thing about this thing is, say if you take it off-road, it has cold weather technology. This thing will work in the extreme cold. Did I mention it's got a lot of capacity? 3,024 watt-hours of usage. That you can equate that to how much is left in the tank. This thing will power a lot of devices. All right, the other great thing about the Jackery pack is it's integrated into your home. They have an accessory that's available on their website. The link will be down below, and it's a transfer switch that allows the Jackery Explorer 3000 Pro to work seamlessly with your home. So basically what you do is you plug it in like I have it plugged in here, and then it goes to a transfer switch, and that allows you to power circuits in your house like you would normally use. It's essentially, you go flick a switch when the power goes out, and then you don't have to have cords running throughout your house, extension cords running to the pack, because what it's doing is it's powering your house through this pack. So if you guys are in the market for a power pack, be sure to click the link in the description below. Go to Jackery's website, take a look at the Jackery Explorer 3000 Pro and the transfer switch, which we found in the accessories, and you can integrate your home with the Jackery pack to make sure that in the event of a power outage, you can power your essentials. So half the problem with a lot of these projects is kind of getting started. You know, like where to begin? Come on, Jack! So yeah, it's the old getting started thing. I find you just got to start cutting. A little overkill on this jack, 20-ton jack to lift a not too heavy jack. So when you're giggling while you're doing it, you know you're onto something good. You can see I've got this thing welded up. This is I don't know. It's like it's an off-balance chunk of metal that I've welded onto the end of that shaft. So that's gonna shake and rattle, and it's gonna be my shaker deck. So I was like, well, can I tone this thing down a little bit? I ended up picking up this. It's a plug-in variable speed controller. I don't know if you guys can see that. I got that at Princess Auto. And what it does is basically it says dial a temp. I'm not sure if this is rated like high enough for this electric motor. Like you can see, like there's a little dial on it. You can say like, you know, it goes like off and then high and then low, so you can dial it. So it's basically a motor controller, like a fan controller. So I was gonna plug it in. So there we go. I don't know if I want to be sitting underneath this thing. Go over here and all right, don't want to be in line with that. So we're gonna turn it on right to low. Oh, nothing? Why didn't that work? For control of portable fans and incandescent lamps only. Let's just try to plug it in just regular. Actually, that's not bad without the variable speed controller. All right, I can see a problem. So this is a furnace blower motor, and they've got, I think it's a rubber, like a bushing that allows it to not vibrate. I'm just gonna weld that right to it. Although I should try it before I weld that thing solid. I wonder if a rock will actually flow down into the hopper. We're onto something. They're moving. All right, as it turns out, not all vibrations are the same. Who would have thunk? If you kind of think about it for a little while, you think, well, maybe there should be the vibration or the turning of the motor should go basically parallel with the material that we're going. So currently we're shaking like this, which is perpendicular to the direction of travel of the material. So I gotta turn it 90 degrees. This motor has to go whoop, and that way. So it'll go like this and it'll shake it and it'll go forward, I guess. And actually I welded another chunk of steel on it to make it a little heavier. Well, we're ready for our first test. We've got this thing fully suspended on springs. It's got some old, I don't know if these are truck springs, rear springs, and they got the front's got the shocks inside the spring. And as you can see, it's got the wiggle. It can wiggle all it wants to. Now, ideally, it just kind of shimmies the rock all the way down into the crusher without having to touch it. Right? Right? Hope so. All right, let's. I'm gonna ear mufflers because this thing is crazy loud. It doesn't just grenade right away. Let's try. Loud. All right, so what's happening, it's shaking over here, but once it gets closer to the rock crusher, what's happened is it's actually attached to the rock crusher, so it stops shaking, And what happens is the rock just kind of sits there and says, I ain't going in the rock crusher. So I need to free up the rock crusher, or the deck from the rock crusher, in order for it to just vibrate in there. So I've got to decouple. I gotta do some decoupling. Decoupling. Salvage these things, which are springs and a strut from a car. And the plan is to mount them here. Like this. So that'll allow this thing to kind of free float in there. Shouldn't be too hard, I think. This is fun. All right, I'm gonna just work. I'm just gonna go and mount these things, and then I'll show you when I'm done mounting. Well, I spared you guys all of the swearing, and I've got the popcorn lid made. This is cut out of an old propane tank that I drained earlier. Oh, that's loud. So the idea is to just kind of slide it in there, and then clamps it. So there. And now that gets bolted in place. And the idea behind this thing is that it's free floating on the back of the crusher, so it doesn't actually touch the shaker deck. So you can see you're on the shaker deck and you're independently moving. You should probably lift that off just so she doesn't hit it. And the good thing about it is that if it's only bolted on the other side, so if one, like a big doozy comes along and just whacks it, it'll just kind of, it'll flip, right? So it's not like a hard point. Well, it is a hard point, but it's not like a super hard point where, you know, boom. This lends itself to like a happy face, doesn't it? I need some googly eyes. Like a crunch, 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 crunch. Yeah, maybe. All right, well, maybe I'll find some googly eyes. Who knows? So as it turns out, the conveyor belt that I built the other, a couple of weeks ago, and there was a video on it, as it turns out, it is slightly too large to fit underneath the rock crusher. And the idea behind that conveyor was to basically take the crushed stone and pile it. But it doesn't fit. So I'm gonna use that for firewood, and luck would have it, I found another one. I don't know how that happens, but this guy here is a little bit, it's better sized, and it's got the little U shape, which I think is for gravel, and so it's about 10 feet long, and well, it doesn't have a motor, and it has a little tiny pulley, so I'm gonna have a little bit of a fun time to try to get these rollers to stick, so I've got a plan with that. Well, I certainly hope this wasn't somebody's failed prototype conveyor belt that they just kind of gave up on and chucked it. Have you seen the price of stuff lately? Anyways, this is the contact cement. This little jug here is retails for like $35 Canadian, which is crazy. So I better make the most of it. Yeah, it's the good stuff. All right. All right, don't do that. All right, so the plan is to basically make this very slippery roller very sticky. All right, we're just gonna brake clean because it looks like some brakes. Give it a nice little wipe, get that black stuff off. Oh yeah. Get my shaft clean. This is a roller. All right, that's clean. Okay, so the plan is to coat both things, let dry 15 minutes, and then stick the whole thing together. One big sandwich, something like a glue sandwich. If anybody's ever worked with contact cement, it's sticky. Now normally I would go with rubber cement, but I don't think I can't find rubber cement anymore. Rubber cement, you just do both sides, you wait till it gets tacky, then you stick them both together, and then you never get it apart. It's like a permanent solution to a permanent problem. Usually rubber cement will take rubber and curl it. I don't see that happening with this stuff right now. I'm gonna let that sit, let technology work. I needed like not that much glue apparently. Oh well, could have bought the smaller one. It's gotta dry a little bit and then we'll stick it all together. Well, every once in a while I think, how would have Jimmy have done that? That's how I did it. This is the shaft thing. So the problem was this shaft was too big for the other pulley that I have. So I made my own using the other piece. I just cut it off, and then I tried to center it really, really closely, and I think I did a pretty decent job. I don't know if you guys could see that. So that's the idea, is to put it back on this guy. There's a couple of set screws, and now if I didn't get it perfectly straight, it's gonna wobble, which isn't cool, but you know, we're not building pianos here, I think. See, it's already conveyoring. It's already moving. So there's like a flattened part of this shaft here. I just want to get at least one of the set screws on that flattened part. So really, I've got like a multi-purpose. I got a multi-purpose thing. I got teeth on it for gears in case I need to ramp her up and go, you know, full chain or go full pulley. You know, I realize they probably sell these like whole things at Princess Auto, but I just don't want to. I don't want to leave today. I don't want to go for a journey. So that's the pulley. That is nice. That fits great. Are you excited for that? So I ended up picking up a couple belts from Princess Auto. Here's the belts. I got like a series of like 62 all the way up to 66. And that gives me a pretty good selection of belts. And these are just belts for a like a riding lawnmower deck. I'm still working on the tracking, which is proving to be difficult. And it says it tracks towards the loosest side. So I'm trying to get that thing to go, but I kind of have to fire it up to see it work. It works. All right, we got her pretty much buttoned up. We got everything pretty much together. I just got a couple more additions here. I got some, found some googly eyes, and I want to put them, I think, like right there. Wide set eyes. This little guy's wide set eyes. Perfect. All right, now that we got this whole thing set up on the pad, I'll give you a little bit of a tour. This is a Van Sen jaw crusher. It is a rock crusher diesel engine. It's a Changche diesel engine. Now these engines are found on a lot of things that are domestically available in China. It's been around for 100 years, so I'm not too worried about longevity on this bad boy. So it's basically, I don't know, it's basically like a diesel engine. There's like a bypass over here. There's a fuel shutoff over here. There's a throttle controller over here. There's a manually crank thing that you can just turn it and it'll start. We got a battery here which allows the starter to engage the engine. Up here we have a water cooling system, which currently I just have plain old tap water in here. Actually, it's rainwater that's comes out of the downspout. So you fill it up and it's got a little float gauge here that allows you to kind of check and see, ensure you have water. This is where the diesel fuel goes. And then back over here is the business end of the rock crusher. So we got some giant flywheels that allow this thing to crush stone. And then here we've done a little bit of modifications. Here my little guy is my lid, so the rocks don't come flying out, because I've had a couple of rocks come flying out the top and land on the engine itself. So this is kind of like a modification after I've used it for a little while. So this guy should work. It's also, it's got some angle iron here that allows it to just kind of float in place. So if it does get hit really hard with a rock, it is not kind of like a rock in a hard place. This is kind of like a rock and it'll just flip out of the way if it has to. And so anyways, I've made a shaker deck for this thing, which is sitting on a couple of truck springs. So the whole thing is disconnected from the rock crusher itself. I've got some spacers there that allow the rock crusher itself to move a little bit, and it's sitting on these little springs. And this is a shaker motor that I believe it's an old furnace motor, and I've made a paddle which gives it the vibration, which in turn will shake the deck and have the rocks cascade into the crusher and then basically come down to here, which is an old conveyor belt that I actually found and I've modified in order to sit underneath the crusher. So the idea is the rock will come out in small pieces at the bottom, find our way all the way out to the top here, which in turn will fill a dump trailer, and then I'll be able to take my crushed stone and put it wherever the heck I want. So this is, again, an old motor, an old I don't know what kind of wheel this is. Actually, it's from a old cement mixer. I put a new shaft on it. I've actually added some rubber to the wheel here, which allows it to turn really easily. And these are just electric motors. These will be plugged in. So in the event of catastrophic failure, just unplug it. that worked for 3 minutes. The motor came out of the thing that was holding it. I don't think that's a big deal. The rubber, see the rubber bushing? That's probably to dampen the vibration. And well, it dampened it to the point where it just catastrophically failed. And it kind of twisted my cord a little bit, but I think I'll just get rid of those rubber things, just make it solid. I think it's okay still. Hope it's okay still. All right, well, we got a little bit of a bush fix going on here. You can see that. So what I've done is I've actually added a piece of plate that welds the motor to the deck. It actually should work better because now the vibration is directly translated to the deck. So actually that's an upgrade. We'll call that an upgrade. I think I'm going to hand feed that thing for a little while just to make sure it doesn't just catastrophically fail again, just to make sure everything's working. You know, it's like a baby. You got to hand feed it, make sure she's good and solid, and then move on. All right, so a little bit of a modification after yesterday's motor failure. So what I've done is I had this guy, which is just this little section here, and it was doing the shaking, and I discovered it wasn't enough force to actually make the stuff move. So what I've done is I've welded a couple more chunks of steel. As you can see, I've probably, I don't know, 6 times, 8 times the shaking force. I don't know what the, I'm not very good at physics, so I don't know how much force that is. If that's spinning like that, going around, there's probably a lot of shaking. Even doing that is making the deck shake. So it should move the rocks down. What I was finding after it was this little guy here, which is the, previously it was just kind of massaging the rocks. It was giving them a nice good feeling and not getting them to the jaw crusher. This motor just keeps finding new and interesting ways to explode. It come flying off the thing. I don't know if it died this time or if it's just, I don't know, it's got like an auto shut off feature. When it starts spinning violently, it just shuts off. That's just kind of cool. Half of the problem is it's kind of designed to be violent, and looks like my welds broke. One of them broke off the motor previously, and then now it's broken off the deck. More weld, more steel, more everything. It works so well when it works, and then anyways, I actually reached out to a company to send me a like a purpose-built one. I'll see if it actually makes it here before the end of this video. I'm not giving up on this one yet. I'm going to try to weld. Maybe more steel, more weld, more surface area, and hope for the best. So some of you guys might be asking, well, Kevin, where do you get rocks? You know, rocks are expensive. Well, in reality, rocks are sort of the burden of a lot of people. A lot of farmers don't like rocks. A lot of landscapers don't like rocks. There's a lot of homeowners that have rocks and bricks and just stuff that's really, you know, cumbersome. It's kind of like a burden. So when you have a rock crusher, it gives you the opportunity to take these sort of discards and use them to your advantage, whether or not you're making concrete, or you're making a driveway path, or you just need crushed stone for like decorative purposes. There's lots of places to get free stone. I'm going to show you some of those places where I get free stone. I'm sure you can think of a couple more. Perhaps you can actually write down in the comments, because I'm always interested in knowing where you guys get free rocks. Maybe you guys, I don't know, ask your friends, neighbors, coworkers, where you get free rocks. Anyway, I'm going to show you where I get my rocks, and maybe we can, you know, make a list of places to get rock. All right, so first place to look for rock is topsoil pile. So if you look at this, this is a traditional topsoil pile, and it's unscreened, obviously, because you know, usually the rocks are taken out of them. But unscreened topsoil, you can find rocks. So there's one. There's like an old brick, which crushes up really nicely. It's got the clay. So here we got some other rock. There's actually a little pile of rocks here, which have got the topsoil on them, and that's kind of okay too, because it just kind of breaks off. But you can see there's rocks here. There's another rock. It's kind of small. Anyways, there's rocks. Pretty much all topsoil piles will have sort of there's another rock. So if anybody's doing any kind of landscaping, they'll have a pile of rocks that they don't know what the heck to do with. They're everywhere. I just keep looking, and I just keep finding. I just keep finding more rocks. I just pile them there. Once I have enough rocks, I can start crushing. So I've been collecting for a little while out of the pile, and you can see I've got some old patio stones, which it crushes those like they're pretend. All right, so my personal favorite location to find rocks is the edge of farmers' fields. Now this is an edge of a historical farmer's field, and as you can see, there is rocks aplenty, and they're just below the surface usually, and you can get them pretty easily, and they're usually kind of clean. Pulling rock out of there, who knows how far it's going to go down. Every time it rains, they would come up again. Once you got a big enough pile, you know, load them into your tractor or a wheelbarrow, and they get them to the crusher. It's like collecting firewood, but this stuff doesn't burn. There's another pile of field stones just on the edge, and a lot of the times, if you ask a farmer nicely, they'll have a pile that they've kind of accumulated over the years, and they just want to get rid of them. Just kind of takes up space. So this is a location kind of like a 2 birds 1 stone, or is it 2 stones 1 bird? It's a farmer's field, so it's just been planted. There's it's a no-till corn crop that's going in there, so you can see the corn that's come up, and it's no-till. But the idea with no-till is that it has to be really good ground in order to plant it. So anytime you can go and help a farmer out, you ask them and be like, can I pick your field? Now ideally you're not picking them once the corn is actually planted, but as long as you're careful and you don't step on their corn, they don't mind you picking rock. Because look at there's 1, there's 2, and you stay in the middle, there's 3. So you're helping them out by getting rid of the rock, and you're getting rock for free. Look at all that rock. That's like a square foot of gravel right there. And there's another one there. So here you can see where the corn would have been planted here, and then this rock, well, it did get planted, but I think it missed one because this rock. So if we took that rock out, next time they plant, they get it in the exact location. You can actually see the seed. It's right down there. It didn't get planted. It actually, I think it molded. It didn't germinate, or the rock prevented it from going. So anyways, talk to farmers. They'll let you, they might even pay you to go pick rocks out of their field. And then these are perfect specimens for gravel. Okay, so this isn't necessarily rock, but this is considered a discard material. This is actual asphalt. It's got the tar in it, and it's got the rock in it. And since I'm building sort of a driveway, this stuff will be useful because it's got the tar in it. So this stuff crushes like, well, you don't even hear it crush, but like I got a pile of that. That stuff is easily to find because nobody wants it. It's another place to get them is landscape companies. They tend to have a pile of refuse that they either bring to a pit to get crushed, or they're happy to get rid of it because they don't have to pay the fuel to get rid of it. So here is a bunch of broken up interlock stones, some concrete brick. Like that stuff there is beautiful stuff. Just throw it in there. But yeah, you can see how many, like just this stuff's perfect. Absolutely perfect. There's a huge pile. This is a massive pile of old concrete bricks, blocks. That's awesome. All right, so I'm learning things new today. I'm at this this screener deck, and I'm looking at it because it doesn't have power. But what they've done is they've isolated the motor from the shaking. This thing has a little drive belt on there on the side of the motor, and it goes to this little wheel here that turns this little pulley here that goes up to this shaft over here that turns this rod. Can we see? Turns this rod that spins these weights that shakes this deck that screens this soil. Now, I might take this idea because it isolates the shaking from the motor, and maybe the motor will last. So maybe this is something that I'll do for the shaker deck. All right, same old problem. The weld broke on that thing. It didn't actually come off the deck. So I think I have a solution to this. I did reach out to a couple of companies in regards to proper shaker deck motors, and well, as it turns out, they're a little cost prohibitive. That's the asphalt that was in there. I figured I'd just crush it in, and it'll help consolidate all of the pieces. So it's all one giant pile. I would probably say it's probably 3 truckloads worth, like triaxle loads, so probably 60 tons, 130,000 pounds of rock, 130,000 pounds. See how far we get with all this crushed stone. I just want to talk a little bit about how this thing performed with the modifications, and what I'm pleased with, what I am not pleased with, what I'm going to modify for the next time I run this thing for a significant amount of time. So I really like the conveyor. The conveyor worked really, really well. It was basically started up and forget it. It worked flawlessly, except the one time when it was like, wasn't turning, and I was like, what the heck? A little triangle shaped rock got underneath one of the wheels, and it just actually, so the motor was still spinning and it didn't burn the belt out or anything. I just actually removed the little stick and away it went. So this is definitely something that that is an asset to crushing, is getting the material out from underneath the machine. The reason why I actually put the machine up on a basically a big mound of gravel, it was that I wanted to get out underneath it, get all the material out underneath it. But with the conveyor, I don't actually have to put it up so high onto a hill, so that's an added benefit. The other thing that I'm gonna have to deal with is the shaker deck. So the shaker deck worked really well initially for 3 minutes, and then it just catastrophically failed, and then I re-welded it a number of times. So as it turns out, I'm gonna basically decouple shaker from the motor. I think I'm going to what the next plan, modify this thing to actually accommodate all of the extras into a trailer, so it's all kind of contained, and you can just kind of just move it. So I'm thinking maybe another axle, another set of wheels, and then it'll just be a self-contained thing, and actually you'll be able to support the conveyor and the shaker deck all in one, and it'll just be a big massive train looking thing. Actually, it's not really that big, but it'll be a lot more stable with another set of wheels and basically another 2 stabilizing jacks. So you basically wheel this thing onto the location of where you want your material to be crushed, as opposed to moving the material and handling it a couple of times. You could just actually move the crusher, conveyor, shaker deck system all in one, park it beside the material that needs to be crushed, and you just load a dump trailer, and then you go from there, which I think will eliminate one step of actually going to get the material and then bringing it to the crusher. Otherwise, I'm pleased with it. I'm pleased with the suspension system that I installed, which the springs from the truck, which worked really, really well. And I'm just examining my welds, and they seem to be all pretty much intact. Everything was good. Nothing really broke besides the shaker motor. Well, so the jaw crusher worked really well. This little guy here, so about 5 minutes into it, a rock popped up and hit the nose and then fired it off into Never Never Land. It didn't go into the crusher, which is I'm thankful for, because I think of the nose in the crusher, it's a solid piece of steel. That would have been no good. But this thing definitely, no rocks left the crushing area. They would bounce up off of here, and then they would go back in, and they would get crushed. There was 2 rocks that that just didn't want to get crushed. Out of all of those rocks, there's probably like, you know, tens of thousands of rocks. The teeth or the jaws, everything seems like they're getting slightly rounded off, but I didn't notice any sort of decrease in productivity. I think I was running it actually a little slower, like I had the idle probably half. So this is definitely an asset if you're going to get yourself a jaw crusher. Bringing it over to the engine itself. So I had this thing, I filled it up last time I used it, and I haven't filled it up since. And there's still, it's probably about that much fuel left in that thing. I don't know exactly how much fuel that is, but like this thing ran for pretty much 3 days straight, and it still has a lot of fuel in there. There's a whole lot of driveway completely covered in gravel, like about 6 inches thick, and I don't exactly know the length, but it's a whole lot of it, and it was essentially done for my time and well, I guess the cost of the machine. But this is like the 3rd or 4th job I've done with that rock crusher, so it's basically it's all gravy from here, and I don't see it wearing the plates. I don't see it slowing down. Got a couple ideas up here. I don't know if you guys are interested in seeing them. Be sure to comment down below if you are, and hope you guys enjoy this one, and join me on the next one. That's like a 1 in a million. There's the nose. Does it land there? I don't remember putting it there. It looks like it's been there for a while. It's worn off all the rust that's on there. Maybe we gotta re-weld that guy on. That's funny.